The 100 Trade Execution Protocol, Part 1. The Impossible Experiment. I want you to imagine a scenario, not about strategy, not about you. Suppose you have a trading system. It is fully validated. It has a proven long term edge. It has the data. It has the history. Your only task is to execute exactly 100 trades. No fixing, no interference, no changing anything midway. Just 100 trades, following the original plan exactly. Sounds simple, right? But here is the inescapable reality. You cannot do it. I'm not saying this to insult your discipline, but to expose your psychological flaw that is actively draining your capital. If you feel a defensive switch in your gut right now, listen very carefully. Your biggest problem is not algorithmic shifts in the market. It is the fact that you cannot sit still. You already know price action. You already know smart money concepts. You backtested. You journaled. And if I ask you to break down a chart, you probably will sound like a genius. But the problem is your account is bleeding, not because you lose so much, but because every time the equity curve pointed up, something inside you dragged you back down. So now I won't ask you about your strategy. I won't ask you about your win rate. I won't even ask you about your risk reward ratio. I will ask you, have you ever executed 100 trades without changing anything midway? So please tell me the answer in the comments. Part 2. The instinct to interfere. I will give you a set of brutal absolute rules. One single setup, one fixed time frame, one fixed stop loss, one fixed take profit, same risk per trade. And the absolute low, 100 trades. No interference, no moving the stop loss to break even, no taking profits early, no skipping trades because you feel the market is off, no optimizing midway. After a losing streak, you do exactly one thing: execute and record. You think this test is a joke. Let me tell you something. I did this test. 3 years of trading, and I couldn't do this. Trade 1, beautiful setup. The entry was precise, price moved slightly into profit, then started to reverse. I watched the red candles, my heart rate spiked. Maybe I should move the stop loss up a few ticks just to be safe, but the rule echoed: no interference. I sat on my hands, price hit the stop loss, trade 1 loss. I felt very uncomfortable, but fine. Trade 2, proper setup, price ripped into profit. The PNL was green and growing. I stared at the screen. Should I close now? Better safe than sorry. My finger hovered over the mouse. I stopped. No interference. So price hesitated, reversed violently, and hit stop loss. Trade 2, again a loss. And this is where the psychological devastation begins. Not on the chart, but in my mind. I started rationalizing. This is stupid. I could have taken profits. Sticking to rigid rules is a death sentence. What I didn't realize was that my survival instinct was hijacking my logic. I was no longer trading the system. I was trading my feelings. I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to avoid pain. Trade 3, trade 4, trade 5. 5 consecutive losses. Maybe the entry criteria are wrong, maybe the stop is too wide, and then the most dangerous thought in trading appeared. Maybe I should adjust it just a little bit. Part 3. The tough love reality check. This is exactly where 99% of you fail. You don't fail because your system is trash. You fail because you never give probability enough time to manifest. You change the rules before the edge has time to appear. The market is Darwinian. It doesn't care how smart you are. It only rewards those who can survive their own emotional impulses. You don't fail because you are wrong. You fail because you are not patient enough to be right. So I pushed deeper into the experiment, and I realized something terrifying. The market wasn't hurting me. The uncertainty wasn't hurting me. What hurt me was the absolute inability to interfere. It felt like sitting in a burning room with a voice screaming, "Do something! Fix it, react," and having to actively ignore it. That is no longer trading, that is extreme psychological warfare. By trade number 12, I broke. A trade went slightly negative. I couldn't stand the discomfort. I moved my stop loss wider, just this once. Price drops further. I moved it again. The trade became a massive loser, destroying the entire logic of the sequence. I sat in the silence. I finally understood. It wasn't that I didn't know how to trade. It was that I was literally incapable of not interfering. And I started over. Trade 1. Part 4. The illusion of control. Think about your own trading. When you move your stop loss, you are not optimizing risk. You are terrified of being wrong. When you take profit early, you are not protecting gains. You are terrified of losing the feeling of winning. Every single act of interference is just an emotional reaction disguised as logic. You are biologically programmed to fix mistakes immediately. You are wired to control your environment, but the market cannot be controlled. The market only rewards those who can hold their decisions under extreme duress. I restarted. Trade number 32. I began to change. Not the system this time, but my self awareness. Every time the urge to interfere spiked, I treated it like a psychological signal, not a market signal. I wrote it down. Why do I want to close this? What am I afraid of? I realized I wasn't afraid of losing money. I was afraid of the feeling of losing. I needed the feeling of control. And that is when the experiment finally started working. By trade number 50, 60, 70, the daily PNL no longer mattered. All that mattered was sitting still. And then the magic happened. The true nature of the system emerged. The losing streaks were there. The drawdowns were there. But the winning streaks followed. Not because the market changed, but because for the first time there was a human being who didn't break the probability curve. Part 5, the safe harbor of process. By trade number 100, I looked back. I didn't have a massive profit, but I had something infinitely more valuable: absolute clarity. Clarity that my system worked, but only when I stopped breaking it. Trading is not a game of fast action, it is a game of maintaining action. Anyone can learn a setup. The hardest skill in trading is not reading structure, it is not touching the mouse after the entry. No fixing, no optimizing, just holding. Because in that moment, you aren't holding a trade, you are holding your own discipline. You cannot hold that. No strategy on earth will save you. But there is a deeper trap. After trade 150, I noticed the imperfect trades, the ones where a tiny tweak would have saved a small loss. My ego whispered, if I just optimize this slightly, the results will be flawless. It sounds logical again, right? But I woke up from that dream and said, am I optimizing or am I just trying to control the outcome again? If you change your rule at trade number 51, the first 50 trades are garbage data now. You are no longer testing one system, you are testing two systems. This is the death spiral of a retail trader. You lack discipline in keeping a method long enough. You must separate execution from improvement. During the 100 trades, your only job is execution. You do not get to be smart, you only get to be obedient. Part 6, the final truths. You don't break your system when you lose, you break it right before it's about to win. Patience is not waiting for an entry, patience is enduring a 7 trade losing streak without touching your parameters. Every losing streak is the toll you pay to stay on the road long enough to hit the winning streak. If you refuse to pay the toll, you are eliminated before the reward. The urge to interfere comes from the inability to tolerate uncertainty. You do not trade to make money, you trade to avoid discomfort. If you want to survive, you have to build the cage. Before every trade, ask yourself, if I cannot touch this trade once it is live, can I tolerate the worst case scenario? If the answer is no, you do not execute. You don't need a new indicator. You don't need a new course. You need to do 100 trades with zero interference. It won't be exciting. It won't be dramatic. It will be boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. But that repetition is what prints money. If you are finally ready to stop negotiating with your own ego, hit the subscribe button right now. Market sector is where we build the mental operating system you need to survive. Drop a like on this video to commit to the 100 trades protocol today, and go to the comments right now. Write down the exact rule you are going to force yourself not to interfere with on your next 100 trades. Hold yourself accountable, execute the process, and I will see you in the next video.